Now, y'all, these, ooh, only if y'all knew.
Howdy now. So in this video, you get to watch me, yes, Cameron, spend over $1,000 on lovely little lizards, anoles. What kind of anoles? Rare anoles, mainly smaller species and some even smaller species. From a couple Cuban species, maybe a Roquet, and you know, something I've been wanting for a long time. Something that doesn't import well, something that isn't commonly bred, you can't sex, makes them hard to get.
Now, this Anolis Lydius, I believe it's properly pronounced. If you've realized, I'm bad at saying their Latin names, and Anoles don't really use common names. But, as you see, these are a real interesting Anole. They have this creamy body with those white dots on their head like their third eye, like the third eye on my chest if y'all seen the videos long enough. Then, they also have these beautiful red dots on their back. These animals are amazing. Now, these aren't technically mine, they're actually my buddies, who I'll be sending out later. And I'm kind of regretting on even offering them to him because now, well, I actually really enjoy them. He watched the reaction video. He's actually the one who inspired it, and I've slowly been converting him into anoles and no longer leopard geckos. But these guys are so sick, bro. Like, I'm actually kind of annoyed with myself for actually offering them to him. I want them. I want this pair. They're pretty. I'm gonna proudly buy his babies now. Alright, y'all. So this is Anolis Roquet. And that is another Anolis Roquet. Now, there's a little bit of humidity in there, so you can't see them easily. But these are some of the most prettiest. Now, as you see, I have a little tub, have the male in my hands, and I have his little temp cage. Why is that? It's because Anoles are pretty skittish animals, and honestly, I don't want to catch a tiny little Anole smaller than my finger all around this room and have to rip apart cages, especially when I got to go to work. Hey. So, if you haven't paid attention, I bought the premium thing for editing. So, now the edits are getting more weird and fun. I'm enjoying it. I hope y'all are too. But, speaking of things I'm doing, y'all should sub to the channel. Why is that? It's because, as you're seeing, I've invested money in this. So now I have a more incentive to make sure it does well. And I'm actually really enjoying this. I love talking to y'all, love meeting y'all, love hearing about the things y'all do. I love hearing that one of my fans has a bird farm. That's crazy. Real cool. I love it. You know, amazing stuff going on here. Anyways, if you like what you see, maybe sub, you know, share it to your friends. Watch it with your kids, Frank. Or, you know, maybe if you don't like it, leave a mean comment so you and me can argue and we can boost my engagement. Anyways, back to the video. Now, y'all, these, ooh, only if y'all knew. These basic drab creamy anoles are some of my favorite anoles. Why is that? Well, they don't get that big, obviously. Then on top of all of that, let me place the light there. These creamy builds on them turn to a, these creams on them turn to a beautiful greenish blue hue when they get to adult. They are sexually dimorphic in pattern. That is the male, that is the female, and sadly these guys don't ship well overseas, so you don't see them commonly brought in as imports as captive bred European imports, and they're not a common Anole, so they aren't super common. Isn't she just tiny, y'all? She is genuinely a little angel. And here's the big giant Anoles looking at her like she's a snack. This is one of my favorite Anoles. Genuinely. Now, Cuban cliff Anole. These guys are, honestly, in my opinion, the simplest Anole to care for because they live near cliffs, cliffs outside of caves, etc., which means they don't need as high heat, right? Which means they only really need like UVB and maybe heat if your home is freezing. And they're really sick. Nice yellows, nice blues, almost translucent in a look. Amazing Anoles. You can't get them from the wild anymore. Only ones available are captive bred because Cuban Anoles, along with majority of my Anoles at this point. Anyways, what y'all liking this? I am the screen now. We are the TV. But anyways, first off, y'all can't see this. So I'm gonna move here. Can't see that. Future stuff. But guess what?
So, we're going to get into a little bit of the history. This is when the video actually starts getting more interesting for y'all. We're going to learn about some of the anoles. We can't obviously do deep dives on them unless you guys want to sit here for an hour. And I guess some of y'all do, but I personally don't want to have to edit an hour-long video. So you're going to get a little bit of factual facts about these species, and then you're going to get a little bit of a history of how I acquired them. Then we're going to move on to the end of the video. You guys can wait till next week's video. Let's lose it's on the screen. So what's going on with these guys? These guys are essentially like rodents. If you go to Cuba, where they're native to, they are pretty much all over the island in almost every little part of the island's little environment, which I think is really neat, really cool, and is interesting. The only part that you don't really find them on, or at least have been seen yet, is Eastern Cuba, and that's just from me going to iNaturalist and then seeing all the locations, as you're seeing on the screen now. And just asking some people who have gone to Cuba, that's what they've also can say. Now, let's talk about some of their stuff. Now, as you can tell, they have a red diamond, and it isn't always there, especially with the wild individuals. But we've been breeding them in captivity for a good, possibly more than 20 years. So we've line bred that to be real refined, and it's almost in every one, and I've never seen one that doesn't have one. Then, the species is interesting because if you look at the Cuban false chameleon, you can sex them out the egg by the 2 scales. Leachia, you can do the same thing. And, you know, your Equestrius, female banding, males no banding, you know, simple stuff. You can sex them easily. These guys, you can't sex them easily. You have to at least wait till they're at least a subadult. And how you sex them doesn't really give you any luck if they're subadult. It's pretty much you have to wait till they're grown, like grown type activities. Anoles barshades. I actually think I'm pronouncing that one right. If any of y'all actually know the proper pronunciation, DM me, links down below. I'd love to actually know if I'm saying it right. But these guys are actually one of my favorite anoles. With how often I say that, what isn't my favorite anole? It is, I don't know, Alice anoles. They're not my favorites. I still like them a little bit though. But guess what? These guys are interesting. Unlike the prior anole we spoke about, these guys are not all over Cuba. These guys are pretty much kind of stuck to Western Cuba, you know, the place where you see, you know, Anoles barbatus, the Western giant anole, Lucagarus. I love mine. Wait for that video. But they're real interesting. These guys are most often observed, by the way, on limestone for some reason, because these guys like to live essentially on the rocky wall, near mountainsides, cliff sides. You get what I'm saying, you know? Yeah. They're interesting. I like them. I like the way they look. I like the yellow around their lip, like the blue behind their eyes. I like the grayish tone. Reminder that these last 2 clips is, and right now I'm filming myself while I'm sick, so that's why the voice is more like this. And then you're actually gonna see Cameron, you know, take a minute before he says the next sentence. Anyways, rest of the video. Now, this small-bodied anole is Anoles bar. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how to pronounce this. Genuinely, if any of y'all know how to genuinely drop a comment, I will give you my phone number and you can call me and tell me how to pronounce it. But this will probably be the only anole I'm gonna refer to their common name more than their scientifically, the long-snouted anole. But when you're searching it, use their scientific, because you're gonna see the one species, the Pinocchio anole, as you're seeing on the screen. It's gonna get mixed up. So y'all know when you're looking into them more. So this is an anole from Hispaniola. Now you mostly find them down south in the island, mainly kind of into Dominican Republic and a little bit into Haiti, but those are also, as you see now on the screen, iNaturalist reports. Now there could be numerous reasons to why, you know, most of them are into the Dominican Republic and not in Haiti. But, you know, that's where most of them find, and these are some gorgeous anoles. Now, the interesting thing about these guys, you can't sex them young. They don't import well, like I was saying in the early part. They don't ship well overseas. So getting them overseas is kind of like, you know, you don't want to do that. It ain't going to work well. And they're fairly uncommon, and they're one of my favorite species. I've really been wanting this species for a good bit of time, but I missed out on a proven pair deal. My buddy has them.
with the weather she hasn't gotten them yet. So I was like, okay. There's a pair here. You know, there's a pair. They're sex. They aren't breeding, but they're sex. That's a huge win still. I was like, all right. I folded. Now, Anoles Roquet, Trios, Lentes, I don't even know anymore. It's on the screen. Again, I'm bad at pronouncing a lot of this stuff, and I'm sick, so this is, it's been fun filming this. But when it comes to these guys, first off, the reason you're not going to see a lot of the eye naturalists like you've seen with all of these is because when I typed it in, I saw Anoles Roquet, and I clicked on it. It said no observations, which is fun. Kind of spoiled this part, but it's pretty cool. If you want to see something fun, I recommend watching this video I made. I talk about a lot of variations in that video especially, and I covered them. So let me talk about Roquets here in this video now. But as you know, Anoles Roquets are from one little island called Martinique. It's on the screen, and pretty much they got a bunch of locales. You know, they got stuffs, and in my opinion are probably going to be the most popular small anole species, and I would say they are. And I'm pretty excited because I used to actually own one of the more pricier, one of the more rare locale, Anoles Roquet Mappa, or however it's properly pronounced. You know, the ones where they have the black heads that go down their back. Real pretty. They're my favorite of them. And, you know, this is definitely a sick locale. They're more typical, like what I would say is like a more typical kind of thing to expect when it comes to lizards looking in pattern. But I'm excited, you know. They're also the largest out of all the ones I've gotten, so they should be breeding before the rest. I think they may be tied, or right after that will probably be the long-snouted Anoles, because they don't get huge. They're fairly small. But anyways, if you like this video, thank you. I'm sick. Time this comes out, I may just make it this week's video, or I may make it next month's video. I don't know yet. But yeah, if you liked it, hope you did, and sub, because I'll probably be going down to each one of these species and giving y'all very in-depth videos where Cameron sits down and he learns how to pronounce their names before recording. No promises.